What's up, addicts? Today we're going to be going over the Week 3 Power Rankings. But if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Anyway, let's get started. Alright guys, so today we're going to be breaking down all 8 teams in the XFL, showing some highlights from the games in this past week and going over where we have them ranked going forward as far as the league is concerned, but that also helps us with our fantasy analysis. So beginning with team number 8, same place as they were last week, the Tampa Bay Vipers. Now, last week we had our note that Murray was terrible and we were hoping that Cornelius or Flowers would get a start. Well, they are even worse. So I didn't think that in a week we'd already be hoping that Aaron Murray is back, but it's looking like that's what we're hoping for now. This offense is really weird. They definitely should get better. They have a lot of efficiency issues right now, but they just need to figure out how to score. Their defense actually isn't too bad. They're one of the better teams against both the run and the pass, at least in terms of total yards given up. So if this offense could ever figure out how to score touchdowns, they could actually be a pretty dangerous team. But at this point, hopefully you took my advice before the season started and took the under on their win total of 7.5, because we could very well see that bet has already paid off by week 3 if they go 0-3 after playing the Houston Roughnecks this week. Okay, jumping to team number 7, we have the Seattle Dragons. Now, surprisingly enough, we still have them here at 7, even though they won last week. The main concern right now is Brandon Silvers. He's throwing at a 48.3% completion percentage with only a 61.75 quarterback rating. This offense was incredibly anemic last week and will need to improve drastically. This will definitely be more apparent as this league gets a bit more mature. Offenses should start to gel, and teams that don't have the ability to do so will get left behind in the dust. Their defense looks okay. They're getting a decent amount of pressures on the quarterback, but they get a tough draw this week against Dallas. If they go 1-2 and Silvers doesn't improve, he might be pulled for BJ Daniels, so keep an eye out for that. All right, jumping to number 6, we have the LA Wildcats. They were also at the 6th spot last week. Now, they did lose this week, and they're 0-2 right now, but I still think they have plenty of potential to keep going. Josh Johnson was a bit rusty coming back in his first game after missing a ton of time in the offseason because of injury, but he looked really good in the second half. I think they'll continue to improve as he gets more reps, and overall this offense just looks like it could be one of the more potent offenses in the league, but that defense is definitely rough. Also probably going to go 0-3 because they got a very tough draw in playing the DC Defenders, but things get a little bit easier for them as the season goes on. Hopefully they can maintain their composure. They might still be able to compete for a playoff spot towards the end of the season, but it's going to be a bit hard for them if they go down 0-3. All right, jumping over to team number 5 now, the New York Guardians. Oof. All the holes that we saw in Matt McGloin's game last week became incredibly obvious this week. We had mentioned in week 1 that it looked like he was missing a lot of his deep throws, and overall they didn't score many first downs in the first week. They had an even worse time against the defenders in week 2. And then he had a bit of a meltdown on the sideline, which we'll get into in our weekly fix a bit. I think it was definitely very telling to see how that went down. I really hope that Kevin Gilbride can get his composure back, because I do think Matt McGloin can be successful in this league, but he's definitely going to have to keep his composure because that was a mess. And then on the defensive side, they still look really solid. They have a great secondary, and I think they have one of the best pass rushers in the league in Bonmi Rotimi, but we'll see if they can actually fix their offense, because if their offense is playing well, then this team can still be dangerous with that defense. So, definitely hoping that they can turn things around. All right, jumping up to team number 4, the St. Louis BattleHawks. They are now 1-1. Last week they were number 5, so they jumped up 1 spot. Obviously jumping over the Guardians. Now, they played the Roughnecks very well. That second interception that Talma threw shouldn't really have happened if the refs didn't miss the offside call, so that could have changed the entire outcome of the game. That was the first time that we've seen a penalty call kind of impact how much the game. I mean, we don't know what would have happened. It's one of those you really just have no idea unless you can experience alternate realities. But it would have been very interesting to see how that game would have ended if it wasn't for that, because that led to another touchdown for Houston after, honestly, the St. Louis BattleHawks defense had really shut down PJ Walker in the second half. So very interesting to see how St. Louis will respond. Getting to play against the New York Guardians in a sold-out crowd in St. Louis this week, I think will be really good for them. And on the defensive side, no team is having actually given up less rush yards than St. Louis, and they're also third in pass yards allowed as well. Like I said, played pretty well against PJ Walker in that second half, so they haven't scored yet on defense, but the home opener against a floundering New York offense might be a good turning point for this defense to finally be recognized as one of the better ones. So I really like the BattleHawks. Definitely have a lot of promise going forward. All right, team number 3, the Dallas Renegades. Last week they were number 4, so they jumped up one spot here. We told you last week it was too soon to count these guys out. A lot of them had them ranked well down in the rankings last week, and I was, definitely down on them a little bit, but I figured a lot of that had to do with Landry Jones not being there. Landry Jones took over. It took well over a half to finally get comfortable in this offense, but once that offense got going, LA just literally could not stop them. I do think that Dallas could have the best offense in this league if they can maintain the pace of play in the way that they were playing in the second half of the Dallas-LA game. They could be incredibly difficult to stop. Their defense is definitely playing below expectations, but I think this offense, if it continues to improve, it might not matter. All right, jumping to team number 2, same as they were ranked last week, the Houston Roughnecks. 2-0, one of the only 2-0 teams. They're still holding down the fort as the most potent pass team. It'll definitely be interesting to see if any, or how this team will be able to, if any team will be able to slow this train down. This will be their first week on the road, but they get to play against Tampa Bay, so I don't think that will matter too much. We'll see how well this team travels. Now, the defense definitely took a step forward as well this last week. 8 sacks on the year, leads the XFL, and saw some more ball hawking this game with the 2 interceptions of Jordan Teamu. Definitely be very interesting to see how this team could potentially handle some adversity when it comes. Maybe that will happen when they play some more games on the road, but it's looking like they're going to start the season 3-0, and that is a fantastic start for Houston. All right, and then number 1, again, same as last week, we have the DC Defenders. Now, last week we touted the Defenders of having one of the deepest wide receiver core, if not the deepest wide receiver core in the league, and I think that was proven out even more with the return of DeAndre Tompkins and immediately making a massive impact to this game. Between Tompkins, Ross, and Rogers, and a few guys behind them that are honestly still pretty good as well, there is no competition in terms of who has the best core of wide receivers in this league. Cardale Jones is playing very well, very efficiently, and the offensive line actually right now is still pretty injured. I believe they're missing either 2 or 3 starters, which is definitely stifling the run game, but if the offensive line can get healthy at some point in the season, look for that run game to actually improve. And then DC's defense continues to force turnovers and has not let off the gas ever since this league started. The addition of Anthony Johnson at the linebacker there has only improved their strength. So this team is just the most well-rounded. There's not really much argument around it. Defenders look great heading into week 2. They get to go on the road this week to play LA, but they should also be able to start off 3-0, and we'll be looking to fend off Houston for that number 1 spot going forward. All right, these are my power rankings, so let me know what you guys think. If you disagree, let me know what your own power rankings are in the comment section below. And make sure you hit up my website at fantasyaddictionnetwork.com. We have everything that you need to be able to maintain your fantasy teams, your DFS daily teams throughout the entire league for the XFL for the whole season. So make sure you check that out. Click the link in the description, and also hit that like and subscribe button for more XFL content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.